Times I've been fired. Part 3. This is the final part. This is the final part. This is the conclusion. If you haven't seen the other two, there'll be links down below. So I quit my job at the department store to work for a new up-and-coming franchise. Instead of doing the job of a supervisor and being paid as an associate, now I was quitting to move up to being a manager at a cafe. It was in my local town centre food court, and it was a place that sold like baguettes, sandwiches, jagged potatoes, you know, that kind of thing. And I got fired. I got fired on Christmas Eve. This place was a nightmare. It was one of the most stressful jobs I've ever had. The difference between working at the department store cafe and this cafe was that the sandwiches and the wraps and the toasties and the paninis that were in the department store, they came in on a truck. Okay? They came in these little refrigerated units, and I'd take them from that refrigerated unit into the store's refrigerated unit, and that was it. And it was great, hands off. This place that I got this job at, where I was the manager, the whole thing about the franchise was they're freshly made every day. The way that the owner devised the rotas of managers and employees. There were 3 of us managing the place. There was me, a really dorky guy who took it way too seriously, and a girl who was from Brighton and had lots of really cool piercings and loved green tea, and she was very nice. I liked her. But regardless, every morning the manager would come in, and like 1 or 2 associates, like employees, people who weren't managers, I don't know what to call, they're human beings, right? Every morning we would all be expected to produce like 60 sandwiches, like 10 of each combination, 50 paninis, like 50 toasties, and we'd be scheduled to come in like, I think an hour before we were supposed to open. It was physically impossible to make all of this food. The guy who bought the franchise, the owner, he didn't understand how we couldn't get it done. Every time that he came to check on us, because he did that a lot, he just didn't understand why we were always running behind. It was an absolute nightmare. It's always funny when you're a franchise owner who's never worked in catering, never worked in hospitality, and you buy a franchise because you're told it's a good investment. It wasn't, by the way. The franchise was trash. I don't think any franchise made money from it. But it's always funny when you don't come from a place of experience. Like, I think this guy was like a building contractor, and he'd just walk in and be like, why is this not done? It's like, you fucking try it. You try opening these tins of stinky tuna and these tubs of wholesale mayonnaise and this miserable ass sweet corn, mixing it all together every morning, breaking your fucking wrists, spreading it on this miserable bread. Sorry. I didn't realise how much that upset me still. This actually has nothing to do with why I was fired. I don't really know why I'm telling this part. But basically this was late 2012. I only worked there for a couple of months. As you can imagine, with timings the way that they were, by the time that I was hired there, my YouTube channel had started doing really well. Like, it had gone past the whole 50 Shades of Grey initial buzz, and now people were watching my own stuff and they were liking the skits that I was doing, and other YouTubers were starting to share my stuff, and my subscribers were starting to snowball. I think I ended the year on like 30,000 subscribers, which was a big deal in 2012. Now you can get like 6 million views and it's not considered viral because I'm old and time sucks. But basically I was spending less and less time in the cafe. I requested to have less hours because I wanted to spend time doing what was becoming a success. I was starting to earn more from YouTube than I was working at this cafe. This cafe was so miserable that any days off I had, I spent just filming because I loved it. And it got to the point where every time that I was on my shift as the manager, I would be on my phone checking YouTube and checking my comments and views, which, is not a good practice, I will admit, okay? I was very excited. It got to the point where I was only coming in for like 3 hours of the day, like 8 to 11 maybe, and then another manager would come in. I should have really seen the signs that I was being scheduled out, but as we got into late December, this is my fuck up. I was on shift to close the place down with another employee. So we were supposed to close and stop serving at 6. And then however long it took to clean up and shut down, that was on us. So not great practice. But it was December, it was cold, it was wet, no one was around, the food court was empty, and I did a bad. As soon as I saw it was empty, I said to the other employee that was there, let's just close early. So we started taking everything off the shelves at about 5:30, and by 5:45 it was all pretty much ready. The shutters were going down. I was like, yeah, you know what? yeah, it's done. It's done for the day. At that moment, as I'm closing the shutters, fucking franchise owner comes around the corner and sees us closing early, and he loses his shit at me. It was one of those like quiet rages though, you know, where like old white men go red in the face and they're trying to contain their anger. Because I mean, I get it, this guy owns the place, right? So in his mind, you know, I'm stopping him earning money, even though the place was dead. I was actually saving electricity. Although I suppose the electricity rates, maybe they were, it doesn't matter. There was no one there. I explained it and he sort of looked at me and went, right, okay. And then just walked off, like carried on walking. I was like, oh shit. The next week, I'm asked to close again. And from then on, I was on my best behavior because I knew I'd fucked up. But as I was closing, the franchise owner came back just after 6 with the male manager that I said took his role really seriously. He hadn't been in that day. They both came around the corner together and I was told that I was no longer going to be working there. I was given 7 days notice, so my last shift was New Year's Eve. I wasn't the best employee, so please don't think that I'm making this like, oh, fuck the system, because I know it was my bad. But to be honest, I wasn't that upset about it. I left, I shut it down, and I phoned my dad. I was like, yeah, I just got fired. I wasn't terribly upset because I wasn't happy there anyway, and like I said, YouTube was doing quite well at this point. It's just, you know, I wasn't the most professional, but yeah, I got fired by a fellow manager who had obviously been conspiring with the franchise owner. It became like a scramble for like which of the 3 of us would be the main manager, and he was very, his nose was very brown. Kind of smelled a bit like shit, you know? So that's the time that I got fired. I then got a temporary job at another department store, but that's very underwhelming, and I'm not going to tell that story because it's crap. Because there I just worked there for 3 months and then quit and did YouTube full time in 2013, and I've been doing it ever since. My longest job, I haven't yet been fired from. The day that YouTube demonetizes me completely, I will class that as being fired. Thank you so much for watching. What would my advice be? Just work within your own boundaries, but also remember that, you know, you're being paid to do something, and basically don't try and go home early. Especially if you don't know the whereabouts of the franchise owner. And don't check your phone all the time. Don't make it obvious to them that you have little to no value to the company. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, guys, I shall catch you later. That's it though, 3 parts, that's it, no more.